I am so sorry for the videos I'm putting out because I have to put it on my mic stand, so it kind of looks weird. I know I have like extra headspace up here, and it's not usually how I like film real life videos. But today I am actually doing a challenge inspired by the Every Room is a Different Blank challenge. I don't know who created it. Was it like Rick Seller or something? But today we are doing Every Room is a Different like decade or time period, which Plumbella did. I really liked her video and I liked the idea, so I'm gonna go ahead and do it. So we're gonna take a swing at this, and I hope I don't embarrass myself too much. And I don't know. I believe how I'm setting up the video, because I'm recording this before me actually doing the video. I believe that I'm gonna pick the first thing first, like the first era, and then that would decide which town I should build it in. I would do the shell first and then pick the place, but this is gonna be for my save, so I want it to look like it's supposed to be a part of that town. So instead of doing it the normal way, the first one I am gonna roll for, but it's gonna decide where it ends up to be. I'm not gonna do quite the same time periods as Plumbella, but I'm gonna put in a few good ones. So let's just go ahead and build. And I do apologize for the lighting. Again, I'm on my iPhone, so I hope you guys enjoy. So I have my wheel here, just in case you guys wanted to know. I always use wheel to side for my wheel spins. And for this challenge, I'm actually gonna delete the years after I use them, just to make this one a little more interesting. I think it's easier, well, it's funnier, like, in color. Each room is a different color challenges, like if you get the same color over and over. But this one, I think it would be more interesting, because if I get 1950 over and over again, I don't think it would be as effective. um, but we're going to go ahead and spin for the outside. This is the only one I'm going to do beforehand. Then I'm going to make the shell based on the house that I made. And I actually have a whole bunch of pictures that I will show you after I spin this wheel of all of these years and like stuff that I gathered. So we have a wheel here, and it has a whole bunch of different years. There's from 1920 to the 2010s to 20s, which the 10s would be like more current times, and then obviously the 2000s and so on. And I use wheel decide just in case you're curious as to what I use for these wheel spin type challenges. And I'm gonna go ahead and spin for the outside, like I said before. This is the only one I'm gonna do beforehand. I even have like a bunch of inspiration pictures, so I want to get like the decades close to something that I would want to do. And honestly, when I was doing like research photos, the earlier years were really cool. So like the 20s, 30s, and 40s, and even 50s. Um, I wasn't expecting a lot between the 20s and 30s, but everything was really nice back then, and I get the feeling. And then some of the years that I was more excited about, like the 80s and 90s, turned out to be not as exciting, like looking at them. But we're going to go ahead and spin for the outside. Alright, we got 40s for the outside. This is going to be exciting. The television, I looked it up, was created in 1927. There's like a few facts maybe I'll give along the way, but just to give you in the headspace of what was happening during that time. And if you want, you should look up like photos from around this era. um, I might show you like some of my inspirational pictures, like or if I'm going off of a certain photo, might do that. But yeah, I think the outside's gonna look very exciting. The thing about the 40s is that you think not a lot about it, but it looks kind of like it does now. Like they're average houses, but they have like something else to them. But we're gonna go ahead and jump right into the build. It's gonna be a speed build, and in between we're gonna do nice little spins just to see what we're gonna get for each room, and I'll do that after I do the whole shell. Alright, Simmers, I've been making this video for literally days, but I had so much fun creating it, and I do apologize if you can hear like voices in the background. I don't have a lot of time to film, and my boyfriend, he's playing video games, so he gets a little rowdy sometimes. So if you can hear him, I apologize, but he shouldn't be too loud. So for the outside, I got 1940s. You'll see that I do some of the outside at the end of the video. That's just how I build, so I apologize. A lot of these rooms, I looked at like a bunch of photos, or I looked at a few and tried to make builds of. And this outside, I kind of try to replicate just the outside a little bit to the photo. The path I don't finish, but in a lot of the photos I've seen in 1940s around the like plants and stuff, like for gardening they put like pebbles, or not pebbles, but like little rocks. um and I thought it was cute. I had to size down each like stone that I used like 2 times, and it was very tedious and took a second to do, but I think it paid off in the end. It kind of looks a little like empty outside, but that's kind of how houses in the 1940s looked. They looked like your everyday house and nothing too extravagant. I don't think they had like crops and stuff, but um and by crops I mean just like regular flowers. But basically I really like the look of this house. It's not like, if you look up 1940s exteriors, there's a lot of different types of houses, and this one you have to go down to find. But I really enjoyed it, and I thought it was a cool thing to have. You'll see the words slowly come up on the screen, and I'm sorry for that. But throughout the whole thing, it's gonna say reference photo or something like that, or reference inspo. And I'll try to keep a picture in the corner for most of the time that I'm building, just so you guys can see what I'm trying to replicate, or not even replicate, but I'm really just getting inspired by all of these. The outside of this house, I think, looks pretty good. It doesn't look like the house in the photo, but I like what I was going for. um and I think it looked really nice, and I like it. But this is for the Hecking family. I think I said it before, but it's gonna be weird. And how I rolled it all the rooms in one go, but you'll see the rolls during each room. But I literally went, starting from the hallway inside, I went clockwise until I got a room for everything. The only thing that doesn't have like a roll for is some of the bathrooms. I just used the same number as I got for another roll. Only the parents' ensuite bathroom is a little bit different, but that was completely on accident. Oh, and the teenagers' room, I did roll the one that turns out to be the same as or 2 other bathrooms. But then I realized I rolled wrong because I didn't write down one of the bathrooms. So I just decided after I did the parents' room that the other 2 bathrooms were going to be the same as the teen bathroom. And you'll see that towards the end, and I'll explain it a little more. but I really had a lot of fun. It took a lot of time. I was gonna do like a history lesson for each one, but I realized A, that would make the video way too long, but B, it was taking a long time just to do like the little Photoshop things that I was doing. I was making like little camouflages and writing facts about the decade, but it was so complicated, and even like just doing like 3 or 4 of those slide thingies, I guess, 3 or 4 collages took like an hour to do. And there's so many years to go through because I made so many rooms. But this time around, when I did the wheel spin, I explained it earlier, but I got rid of the options if I already got it just to make it a little more fun and challenging because it was hard doing each individual year. It was scary too. And I'm just gonna say, you thought the 70s were bad? Wait till you see the 80s because the 80s didn't care about color. They didn't care if it matched or not. But you'll see for the hallway, I was so excited. I got the 2000s. This is my childhood, and I went the colorful route. You'll see in the photos, I did a lot of. If it was around my time, I knew like shows that reference like what the 2000s were. So I did like That's So Raven and a bunch of other things. But um, I really wanted to go the colorful route, and I thought it was cool to add these like little shimmer things. And I think this is more of like the early 2000s kind of era, but I remember growing up on these shows. So, like Zoe 101 and stuff like that. I think it was a nice touch, and it made the hallway a little bit busy, but I don't think I mind it. I was just scared it wouldn't fit in with the rest of the house, but the rest of the house is extremely crazy, so you're gonna be like, don't worry, Tabia, it's fine. But I added a whole bunch of things that I grew up with, like the cool lights and stuff like that. And I think it really pulled itself together in the end. And I don't think it's too cluttered. Like 2000s was a cluttered era, so I don't think it was too cluttered for as a look. But for the living room, so you see I'm going clockwise, I got the 70s, and I was like, oh my god, I gotta put carpet on carpet. It's gonna be horrible. But I actually like the colors I went with. I probably, to be more accurate, I should have went like completely wrong colors because that's what the 70s was. It was doing color combinations that didn't necessarily go together. But I kind of tried to go that route, and I did a little bit. So I mixed green and blue and brown. So it looks weird when you're looking at the room right now. But it kind of comes together in the end. I really tie it in with the browns and stuff. Oh no, wait, I got rid of the green carpet. I forgot. Oh, but um, I also added a bubble station because I'm sorry, this isn't gonna be like PG, I guess, but back in the 70s, there was a lot of drugs happening. So I thought the bubble blower could be like a nice homage to that. And one of the photos I had, I didn't include it, but they had at a table, they had a bunch of director's chairs, and I thought it looked perfect in this room. So I went with it, and I also added a keyboard because that really reminds me of the 70s when I look at it. I don't know how many people would have a keyboard in the 70s, only because it may have been expensive back then. I did a lot of research on the time periods, but I couldn't do too much because it would have taken too long and the video wouldn't have come out. But for the dining room, I got the 90s, and I went the Full House route, and really went the sitcom route, like classics like Family Matters and stuff like that. They all had the common theme of like the same. I don't know what those chairs are called, but I don't know. Like they're like I don't I don't want to say granny chairs, but they kind of look like it. And I really like how the beiges look in the Full House, so I went with that and like that wood theme, and I think it really worked together. I also used a reference photo for Home Improvement because I was thinking that the whole time I was building this, it kind of looked like that. Um, but I also added a bar. I know it's kind of weird, but a lot of shows, they, like, if you think of Friends, they go to bars and stuff like that. So I think it was pretty fitting. But I still kind of added like a little pop of color because the 90s was the time of all those cartoons that are famous now. And I thought it was good to add that nice little pop. Because that's what the 90s was about. I know they toned it down a little, like in their homes, but everybody was like listening to a new era of music. And yeah, the layout gets moved a little bit, but it's only because of our next area, which is the 50s, and it's in the kitchen. I didn't go like family home necessarily. I saw this ad, and you'll see it on the screen right now. But it had like yellow counters and stuff like that, and it had a booth as like the dining area, and I thought that was a cool idea. So you can see I had to move the door so the layout gets a little changed in the dining room, so I gotta fix that up a little bit. But I like the idea of having these weird colors. I started off with this yellow because the counters were yellow, and I kind like there wasn't like a pink chair, so I wanted to keep that idea, but I scrapped that because the 50s they really liked playing with those colors, and it worked in usually like a really good way. So I changed the color of my like items that I was actually using. I played with the stove and the fridge, and then I changed up like the counters to that white and blue color, and then made like a white tile, and I think that really helped. It looks a lot like the pictures, the reference photos that I was looking at, but I don't know. I don't know how realistic it is because I saw like family homes and it didn't follow that. But I did go with like a orange and blue theme, and they're not necessarily like the complements of each other. Um, they're like different tones, but I really like they're more like pale, and I don't know. It feels like the 50s to me. I really enjoyed doing this, but it did take the longest. I get that it's a kitchen, but I was looking at reference photos of really trying to nail a good look for this house, and this is the first room that looks completely out of place from the whole rest of the house because all the rest of the house is like a little bit more mellow. It's warm tones, and this is like kind of like factory cold, but in a good way. It kind of reminds me of In and Out in a bit, and In and Out is supposed to be like 50s theme, I think. So I guess it really works in my favor, and I just really enjoyed doing like this part, and I did mute it down with a little bit of brown carpeting, but in the photos I seen they did add some carpet in some places, so I think it was relevant. I also, you'll notice I forgot some doors, so I gotta fix that afterwards. I made a lot of mistakes like going into it, but I rearranged the kitchen a little bit too, and you'll notice that right now. But I move it around a little bit more later, um, or right now actually. um, but no biggie. I think it still looks nice. And I really liked adding the dessert platter because I feel like that's so 50s. Like, you would make sweets for your children, and I thought it was cute. And so we spun for the teens room and got the 2010s, which is relevant to like the time we're around. Um, I heard that technically we're still in that decade. Like a lot of people were like saying goodbye to new like the old decade. But my English teacher on Facebook, she said that technically 2020 is still part of the decade. And I'm like, okay, I'll believe you. And so I went with like the Tumblr girl type room. This is a teenage girl, and it was very popular for the longest time, and probably like 10 years. So, but I use like fairy lights and like photos and stuff like that, like little little furry rugs and everything, and accent walls, which are totally in and have been in for a while. So I just really liked playing around with this room. It was probably the easiest one to do because I do builds like this all the time, but um, I think it's very fitting, and I was really lucky to pick it for the teen's room because the teen could have had such an awful, ugly room with a different role. Um, but yeah, this is where I wrote for her bathroom. Two of the other bathrooms end up being the 1930s. But this one took me a surprisingly long time as well because I was really looking up those reference photos and I really wanted to get it exact. And what I noticed is that a lot of the sinks are like the pedestal sinks that we see a lot in The Sims. So I'm like, yes. And then a lot of the flooring had like black dots on it. So I was like, oh, I can use like this flooring that I used. It was the perfect flooring. And a lot of them had like mid tiles. And I had a lot of fun doing this. This bathroom looks really nice. It looks clean. It looks sleek. And a lot of medicine cabinets were used back in that time, and even though this bathroom's pretty simple, I like it. And you'll notice for all the rooms, I tried to match the lighting with the era, and the only one that kept the lights that everybody uses to light up a house in The Sims nowadays is the 2010 room. And I really, it's a classic look. It's a classic bathroom. I put accents of blue. There is no rug, and I usually like the rugs in the bathroom, but I thought it was fitting. And then so we moved on to the dad's room, and of course they got the 1960s, and I went off base of this photo. I probably should have went off some of the bedrooms. I did use another photo. I don't think I added it, but I wish I did. Just of where I got the desk inspiration. But I went crazy with this room, and I kind of used the colors. I just inverted them. Like there's a pink pillow, so I used pink carpet, and I try to make like something similar to the fireplace that was used, but we don't have like anything that sticks out like that. So I just used the regular fireplace, and then I added the stone in the background, and then this pink carpeting. And the thing that's a little bit different from the 70s, from the 60s, is 60s didn't do carpet on carpet, which thank God, but they were all about the color. Um, they're crazy, and so I don't know why it skipped in like a decade in the 70s. They skipped all the color. Like they still had it, but they had a lot of browns. And then you went to the 80s and the color came back. But this room's a little bit crazy. It's still not the room I'm talking about that ends up being wild. But I had a lot of fun doing this room. It was a little tricky doing the lighting because I didn't use any ceiling lights. But I end up like putting floor lamps in one spot in two areas in the room. And so it's a little bit overkill with the lighting, but I think it helps illumify the room. And I really like using that green curtain, and it brought it all the way around, like I was saying, with the green, the pink, and the blue. And I really like using that chair. I used it for in the living room, and I added some plants. And I did add like one little carpet because some of the reference photos I saw, they did have carpet. Oh, I lied. I did put carpet in here, but that's because I thought the carpet looked weird by itself. But some of the bedroom photos I saw did have extra carpet. But just like the living room's really, really open. So thankful for that. I also added a rocking chair because those were around in the 70s. They didn't go away. Um, Maybe not as common in the photos, but I thought it was a nice touch to the room. And here you'll see I'm just adding lights to the 50s. And then for the last spin, I had to spin again because it wouldn't let me get rid of that option. And then I got the 80s. So for the bathroom, the 80s was the ugliest era ever, and you'll see through these photos there was a tendency to match like all the appliances the same, but they didn't use like whites or neutral colors. No, they used greens and pinks and blues. And so I made a pink and blue bathroom because that was really common then. And this bathroom just got so crazy, and you guys are gonna be like, what is this mess? And that's just what my bathroom ends up looking like. And you'll see this last photo, I copied a little bit using the Moschino stuff pack. I use the wallpaper and I create this little nook for the bathtub, and it just just ends up coming full cycle, you know. I it looks so ugly in the best way though. So that just left the 20s for the last bedroom. And this is where I decided I was gonna copy some of the bathrooms, but that's only because for the I had only one more option, and that was guest bath, and I forgot there was an extra bathroom for the hallway. And so I was like, oh, we can just do 1940s again because we only saw the exterior for 1940s. And I looked it up, and 1940s bathroom looked exactly like 1930s bathroom. So I decided that two of the other bathrooms were going to be the same as the teenagers' bathroom. And I don't even mind because the dad's room looks like it doesn't belong in the rest of the house, and so doesn't their bathroom. Like, they go hand in hand together. But the 1920s was a fun room to do. It was kind of hard to match the wood tones, though. I had to go in and change all the colors. But there's so many skill building items in this house, and I could add another one with the chess table, and it was amazing doing it. And I really like the feel because one of the pictures literally had the same wallpaper as the one I put in, and I had to include it. Um, but you'll see I'm putting on like wall sconces. I try to use that to light up the whole room like I did in the 60s room, and I ended up just using a chandelier, a candle chandelier, and then I add a photo just to add onto that. And so you'll see I had a lot of fun with this challenge, and the bathrooms I just copy over because it's the easiest. And I changed a few things around, I think, just to make it look a little better. Um, just a fluid house. And I don't know, I really like this challenge. It was really fun. I didn't expect it. And like I said at the beginning, this is all thanks to Plumbella. Like, she comes up with some of the greatest of these challenges. Every room is a different. And some of the time she makes funny builds, and some of the time she makes more serious builds, but she is a really good builder, and most of you probably know her already, but if you don't, I will link her down below because she did give me inspiration to do this challenge. I like doing every room is a different blank. That and restricted renovations are my favorite challenges to do on this channel. But in the backyard, you'll see there's a bunch of black and white photos that I'm showing. I looked up 1940s backyards because I didn't know what they looked like based on the front. And there was a lot of picnic tables. There were a lot of benches. There was a lot of like activities and stuff. And so I try to include that with my backyard. It was a little tricky. I made a huge backyard, and I was so glad a lot of the photos I saw had hedges. And the grill that I used was the closest to a grill that looked what a grill looked like in the 40s, and you'll see a picture towards the end. Um, but apparently there weren't a lot of like good looking grills in the 40s, which isn't surprising. It's fairly new technology for them. But so I had to use that little black one. It kind of replicates that. Um, I realized though what The Sims needs next is Adirondack chairs. It's a common chair that you find on the East Coast, and we sell it at my store. I work at a home improvement store, but it's also like a staple of life. Like they don't do it a lot in places where it's hot, but you'll find it a lot more common in places that you don't expect. Like it's something like it's an oversight. Like it's something so stupid. But I also added a well in the backyard. I almost forgot, and I thought it was funny because back then they're like Jimmy fell in the well or Sam fell in the well. So I thought it would be cool to add like a nice little well in their backyard where they harvest their water. Um, but this house was like incredibly fun to make, and I had so much fun doing this. The terrain paint is like basically the last thing I have to do before the video is done, and it was hard to do it, but I did. And I think the whole house really came together. So I really hope you guys like this video. I enjoyed it so much, and I think the inside looks a little bit crazy, but I am really happy with what I came out with, and I hope you guys like it and download it. I will be uploading this. It's saved, don't worry, I can't lose it. I have a new save. I save every single time. But basically now we're gonna get onto the screenshots. I think I'm slowly getting better at screenshots, but it just may be I'm hurrying, so I'm not thinking as much when I do them. But even like the front entrance, I liked how I took that, and I think some of my photos really complement the build a lot. I will upload this. It should be uploaded when this video comes out on my gallery, and that is TabiLC. That is TabiLC. That's why I'm called Table Simmer, because it resembles that. But if not, it just might take me a second. I couldn't upload it now because my internet was a little bit down. It wasn't feeling its happiest. But we'll get there, so it should be up for you guys soon. If not, it should be there soon. um, but thank you guys so much, and I hope you guys are staying safe and staying smart. You guys have a good one, and thanks.